Greetings and welcome to today's reading. Today, we're going to be looking at the kinds of supports and the things to be aware of when we go through not necessarily crisis, but some kind of unexpected upheaval in our lives. I find this is kind of the energy that you get when there's a sudden shift, something happens. It could be an initiation into some new phase. Usually it comes at the beginning of a growth cycle, especially one that's going to have long-lasting impact in our lives, because there needs to be some shaking up. There needs to be some kind of, I don't know, some kind of shock incident to kind of wake up the system and to get it going. Now, this can lead to crisis. This can lead to definitely upheaval and different ways that we get a bit lost. And so I figured that would kind of be the focus for today's reading. And so the intro is when life throws an unexpected twist at you, what helps you to recalibrate? Because usually we want to go left, all of a sudden the path veers right, and now we're stuck because we have no plans. We weren't prepared for this. Even if you have a gazillion contingency plans, life is always going to throw something at us that never fit into anything that we were unprepared for. And, in some ways it was a little bit unpredictable. So, the purpose for today's reading is to explore the ways that we can move through moments of shock and sudden growth. And these can be life altering, and they definitely lead to I don't want to say the abandonment, but the need to have to rethink and refocus habits and patterns and goals. So the question that we're going to shuffle into the cards right now is what best serves us when we venture into the unknown? Because that's really what this is doing, is it's bringing the unknown directly to us in a way that we have no ability to be prepared for. It's that you're sitting having dinner and all of a sudden the power goes out and you have no idea why, you have no idea how long, and so what do you do now? That kind of thing. So we're going to shuffle that into our cards. What best serves us when we venture into the unknown? All right. And we have our 5 cards. 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Now, the first question asks, what is at the heart of the shakeup? So, whatever shakeup is that's going on in your life right now, at the heart of it is the star. And this is interesting because a lot of times, for me, I see the star as a positive. It's the sign of co-creating with the universe and being able to have your wishes granted and to send that off to the universe and have what you need brought back to you without effort and a lot of ease kind of flowing. Now, when we're looking at the star as being at the center of the shakeup, at the center of the crisis, at the center of, our growth point, where the twist in the road took place, you're looking at the wish fulfillment outside of the expectation. When I look at the star in this type of position, I'm always reminded of that line that people always say, be careful what you wish for, because you may be unhappy with it when it manifests. The thing is when you wish for something and you send it off to the universe and you say, this is what I'm wishing for, the universe in its infinite knowledge and its infinite love will send you what you need, maybe completely different from what it is that you want. And so maybe there's something that you've been wishing for that all of a sudden it's here and now you have no idea what to do with it, or it's come in a way that you were ill prepared and trying to figure out what to do with it. So there might be some upset, there might be some questioning, there might be some resistance, especially to it, if it's coming in a way that's different from our expectations. And so, a lot of times when we're looking at these twists in life, that's exactly what's coming in. Is it saying you're too complacent in your expectations, and I'm going to send you something that is exactly what you need, and you now need to figure out why, and you need to figure out what needs to change in order to be able to incorporate this into your life. And so that's what's sitting at the heart of the shakeup is, what is it that you're wishing for that's coming through in a different way than what you wanted, what you expected, and how are you going to deal with that? So then we move to what path appears when the ground has settled. So now it's arrived and it caused some kind of chaos, it caused some kind of upheaval, things have changed, things have shifted. What is left? Right? So now you've hit that corner and you've gone in a different direction. And what do you see? And here we have the Eight of Cups. And the Eight of Cups is telling us that, like once the ground has settled, what we see is the path that we might have to walk in solitude. It's saying that there are things that we are emotionally connected to. There's groups that we're emotionally connected to, that it's time for us to move away from them. And when I say move away, I'd like to make it very clear that there's a difference between leaving and just moving away. And what this is saying is that there's something that's in those spaces, that's in those practices that you need to move away from. And it could be that you need to move away in order to gain clarity, or it could be that you need to move away and leave. This is going to be based on how you feel the further you get away. The important thing, though, is that this is a solitary journey and you're moving toward whatever you see on the horizon that's going to help clear your emotions. There's definitely a bit of melancholy going on here. There's a little bit of, maybe some loneliness and some hesitation because when we go on, especially emotional journeys, by ourselves, it can be quite upsetting because we're left with only ourselves. There's no one else that we can go to and say, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, this is my decision. Do you think this is the right thing? And so it's a time of introspection. It's a time of really understanding where you are, who you are, and what your life has brought you to as you move forward in order to, kind of wash away any of the impurities, any of the, it's also like with the waters and stuff like that. It's a good place to grieve. It's a good place to kind of cleanse that all away. So that's the path that is emerging from this current situation. Next, we ask, what is alchemizing inside of you? So as we make things shift, as things change, as we have to open up doors, close windows, move on, there's always an alchemical process that's going in. So what's being purified in that alchemical process? What prior to this event was there that now is being purified into something else that's going to serve you in a different way? And here we have the Seven of Swords. Now, this one is, again, it's an interesting one because what's alchemizing is the emotions and the feelings and the thoughts that you have around where you are right now in your life. And it's interesting to have this happening because a lot of times with the Seven of Swords, there's deceit, there's treachery, there's envy, there's, challenges to ethics and to morality in this card because a lot of times we see what other people have and that's what we want. And what I find really interesting about this card in particular is you have the eagle, right, who's flying off with the five swords, but instead of going, I have these five swords, I'm good with that. The eagle is looking towards the two other swords that are left in the corner, and you can just see figuring out how can I get this because he's got something in his beak, so he's carrying the golden moon, got the swords in all his talons, and there's two other swords there. So there's a bit of greed kind of going on in this idea of, I need to have that because that's I can't let someone else have those because if they have it, then I have less, even though if they have the two and I have the five, math would indicate that that's definitely the way to go. But it's just a very interesting thing that we're looking at. This is what's being alchemized in that waiting period while everything's kind of settling is we're really being asked, like what are these thoughts? Where are they coming from? It's time to purify the thoughts and really start to look at a different way of looking at your situation instead of wanting what everyone else has, instead of wanting, something different from what you already have. It's telling you, what is the ethical line that you're willing to cross, right? Like, are you willing to lie? Are you willing to cheat? Are you willing to do all these kinds of things? And in the alchemical process, because it's a purification process, it's going to bring all of these things up to the surface, and you're going to have to be held accountable for the decisions that you've made and the actions that you've taken. At the same time, it's going to help get clarity and understanding as to where these emotions are coming from, so that maybe moving forward, you'll be able to move and act from a different position. The motivation will be less on greed and jealousy, and it'll be more on something purified and higher vibration, right? Like, so instead of going from jealousy and greed, you might be now looking at, especially after your solitary journey, and when you finally realize what the star has brought you, you're going to be looking at, I have my own journey, I have my own path, and so I need to find the things that feel right for me. Because when you spend your time going and looking around at other people, and you're not actually happy in your life. So then we move to what openings are being created. So as this is alchemizing and as you're on your journey, the openings to the hanged man are coming in. And this one also is interesting because the hanged man, is this idea that I'm going to put myself in some kind of stasis. I'm going to put myself in some kind of awkward position because I need to shift my perspective. I need to see something different. And what's interesting is he's like down here, he's reaching for the symbol of Neptune, which is kind of that spiritual awakening planet. And so here you have the hanged man who's just, I'm just trying to see, he's got strings, a blue and a red string tied around his one ankle that are being held by the birds, right? Easy enough. I'm pretty sure his one kick of that leg and he's stronger to be able to break free from the birds. And so when we look at the openings that are being created, what we're opening up is the ability for us to be in an uncomfortable enough position that forces us to shift our perspective, to shift how we're engaging, to shift how we're seeing things. Because that's what these moments are all about. They're all about, okay, are you going to go back to the old way of doing, the old way of being, and the old way of thinking? Are you going to allow your perspective to shift even just enough so something different can happen, so something different can come in? And our final card that we have is what clarity is emerging. And here we have the Seven of Wands. And this one I find is really a great way to end here, because the clarity that's emerging as we go through this is the ability to defend ourselves and to defend our boundaries and to be able to hold off the people that are coming towards us with this idea that if they're forceful enough, if they're persistent enough, that they will be able to switch our beliefs, that they will be able to switch the direction that we're headed, that they're going to have some kind of impact on our motivation and what it is that we want to do and where we want to go and how we want to be in the world. But the Seven of Wands says, I have understood that my intentions may have been created by my peers. My intentions may have been created by my upbringing. And so when the universe sent me something that was different from what I intended or what I wanted, that's really when I started to open my eyes to what it is that I want and how it is that I can get it. And that meant that I had to go on to a journey by myself. I had to break away from some social groups. I had to unfriend people. I had to leave groups. I had to, really look at my practices, my spiritual practices, my creative practices, and how many of them were for me, how many of them fed me. And during that journey, started to realize that I was doing a lot of things because that's what other people did, that was the shiny thing that other people were saying, you need to go and have this, you need to do this, you need to go for this, instead of just being happy with everything that I have and being true to who I am. That then forced me to really look at the perspective of the way I was looking at things and the way I was moving through things, so that now in life, right, that clear, crystal understanding of who you are and what it is that you want to do, you can stand there. And it's not that you're standing up there and you're saying, I'm so much better and I'm looking down on you. It's giving you that perspective shift, right, of the hanged man, to be able to say, from where I'm standing and looking down, I understand the situation a lot more. And I am in a more not a more powerful position, which it is a bit of a powerful position, but I'm in more of a elevated position so that I've risen up out of those petty jealousies, out of those needing to have what other people have, so that what I'm holding and what I'm standing up here with is me. It's my ethics, it's my integrity, it's my motivation and my drives for what it is that feeds me. And that's when you're going to realize what the wish card has brought for you. So, quickly in summarizing, what's interesting about this is that we have water, air, and fire. There's no pentacles in here, so we have no earth, which means a lot of this is going to be emotionally based. So we're really looking at clearing away some emotions and revisiting things that are going on. We're looking at how we're communicating, the stories that we have, the way that we're creating space, even just for us and around us, and the motivations and the passions, right? What is it that we're passionate about? And are we allowing ourselves to be motivated for that? Then what we have is we have two major arcana cards. So we have the star that started us off, and then we have second to last, we have the hangman. And these are basically also about, looking at what it is that you're getting and what perspective are you looking at it from, and how can you shift that perspective so that what you're really understanding is how it works for you in your life. So I hope that you enjoyed this week's reading and that you got a little bit of a nugget out of it, that it allowed for some kind of clarity in your life and wherever you might be facing some kind of new initiation, some kind of upheaval, some kind of veering off of the path in your road. And remember that it happens to all of us. We all will go through them, and sometimes they're small and minor, like you get up in the morning, for instance, and the power's off, or they might be big and major. You might have you know, heaven forbid, you might have an accident that causes your whole life to be turned on its head, and now you have to go and you have to find your growth points. And so that's the whole kind of purpose of today's reading, is to really understand that these events will happen. They will happen no matter what. And we need to be able to understand how we face them. So when we get that wish granted that is completely different or unexpected, sometimes too, the universe will will say, well, you might have been talking in your life about wanting this or wanting that, and here you go. I've given you a way to get to that. So, as I said, I hope that you received something from this reading. And if you did, please like the video, follow along on the channel. We have weekly readings, and I will see you around on the webs. In the meantime, take care.